How's it going, guys? Today we're going to build a treehouse. This is going to be a two-part project, so make sure to tag along. I've got a few requests to build a treehouse, so that's what we're doing here. I'm not going to necessarily show how to do things like furnish it, but this is just kind of a rough sketch of what we're going to be building. I've got a few trees here in this world. The world will be available for download on the final part. That way you don't just skip the whole tutorial and copy my builds one by one. But it will be available at the very end. But here's what we're working with. This is the tree we're actually going to be building. You have stairs. You have a nice open little hut area with a little balcony. But I had a very large amount of requests for this. So yeah, I mean, it's not a perfect tree house, but it just kind of shows you how to get where you want to go with trees. Like, in my opinion, this one's my favorite tree, but this works too. And then you've got this tree. Actually, this is my favorite. I think it just kind of showcases trees and tree houses all together. But if you're interested in watching, then make sure to stay tuned, because this is part one. Part two will be available probably the same day I release this. So once you're done with part one, you can check out part two. So enjoy. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do to build this tree is find our spot. We're going to get, let's see, our tools out as well, which in this case we're going to be using oak wood, jungle wood, and oak leaves, and what leaves? Spruce leaves. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to find our location. And in this part of the tutorial, we're going to be building the actual tree. This is the most important part of the tree house. So make sure to follow along with my instruction rather than what I'm building, because this will help you out in a long run. So when you're building a tree, you just want to go with a flow. You know, you want to design something that comes to you naturally. You don't want to just copy someone else's build, otherwise you're just going to constantly be building the same tree. So that's why I'm not going to go over every single placement I do. We're just going to kind of build a shape. So this tree is going to go up about a little bit taller than that, I'd say, maybe about there. And we're going to slowly just forge out a shape for the tree. Again, don't copy this specific design. You can if you want, but it might be a little difficult considering I'm not going to be going over each step that I take. But I promise you, if you just pay attention, it'll all come to you, because these are tips I'm giving out, not how to build a specific tree. So now that we've kind of developed our shape here, I'm kind of going with the same shape this one had. We're going to start making the tree a little bit bigger, because this tree can't just be really thin. It needs to look like it can really hold, you know, a house. So what I'm going to do next is kind of make the trunk bigger. And to do that, we're just going to follow the same kind of shape we've had, just maybe make it a little bit different, you know, looking. We'll go about there. It doesn't have to be perfect, as I said. Like, this tree it's basically organics. And if you don't know what organics are, it's basically organic builds rather. They're basically builds made out in Minecraft that include curves and just a natural feeling that Minecraft should not really normally offer due to the square, you know, aspect of the game. So this essentially creates a natural feeling, an organic feeling, when you do curves and just let it come to you as you build. But if you just copy something, it kind of turns out horribly. And it rains. There we go. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. As you can see, it's slowly turning out for the better. It's looking pretty good so far. You just don't want to make it look too thin. Like up here, I kind of want to fix this by adding a little bit more of a you know, extra bit there. And that's looking pretty nifty. So now we're going to work out the trunk. This is what actually needs to look huge, just because this is what's holding up the tree and basically holding up your tree house. So it needs to be a decent, you know, size, and needs to actually look like it can hold something. So I kind of see potential for this to be something soon, so I'm going to kind of leave that there. Make a little bit of an entrance out of it. That could be pretty cool. And then now I'm going to kind of give it this natural root looking look. That made no sense, looking look. But it's just going to make it look, you know, like the roots are all coming out. And you can even put them in the ground. When you do that, it works as well. Actually makes it look a little bit more unique. So recommend you do that, definitely. And I'm going to put it in the ground there. And then one there and there. And as you can hopefully see, it's all about random placement. So now we've got our roots. And now we're going to work on the hardest part, the leaves. This is going to be sped up just because you don't want to watch me placing leaves the whole time. But I'm going to explain the concept before we just go ahead and skip through it all. Oh, whoops. Essentially, actually, you know what? Before we do the leaves, let's go ahead and do this. As you can see with the other trees I've done, I've added a little bit of jungle wood. If you've been watching my Let's Play, you'll know why that is. It just gives it this weird and unique look. It makes it look a lot cooler in my opinion, so I always make sure to add. It doesn't have to be jungle wood, it can be really anything. In some cases it can be spruce wood on oak, just whatever you feel like looks the best. But for my choices of color palette, really, choices of color, I'm going to use jungle wood. It just kind of gives it this look that I really like. So once you've done that, go ahead and actually, yeah, that's perfect. That's enough. So there's one there. Yep. Never be afraid to look around and judge your build as if you're another person reviewing it. Right now it looks like some sort of wizard thing, but it'll turn out pretty cool. So next is the part where we're gonna actually build the tree with the leaves and everything. This is the second most important part aside from the trunk, because the trunk is what's gonna house your build. So let's go ahead and do this. This is the part I don't like too much. What you're gonna want to do, actually, you know what? Before we do that, we actually need to do one more thing. We need to give it branches. This is important. I just got done building the tree in our Let's Play, so that's why I didn't add the branches there. This is important because in these types of trees you're gonna see branches, so you might as well go ahead and add them. These are random as well, so feel free to go nuts with it. And you don't have to have any style or any shape really, but this is just what holds your leaves together, so, you know, figuratively. Or not figuratively, but aesthetically, I guess. It's just for aesthetics. You don't even really see them in the final build, so don't feel like you have to do it. I just enjoy it. It's kind of nice. So we're going to go ahead and add the jungle wood with it. And once we've done that, we can add the leaves, which I'm going to speed up after I give you a brief explanation of what we're going to do. So the first thing I always do is just stack leaves on top. You don't have to switch this up with jungle leaves quite yet, or spruce leaves, whichever leaves you chose. I chose spruce in this case. But you don't have to just... That's loud. Sorry. You know what? I'm slowly turning it down. You guys might not even be able to hear it. But, actually... Nah, okay. So this is what I always do. I always go along the top with the leaves and make sure they're leveled. So as you can see, they're all leveled up to the top. And then I add one to the end on each branch. This is because we don't want the edge of the branch to show. And from here, you make the shape of your entire tree, basically by filling out the little pits here where there's no leaves. And then you actually shape out the roundness. This is the probably second most important part. The only important part really of making the leaves for your tree. You just have to kind of get the shape out, because if it's too square looking, it's going to look horrible. And if it's too, like this is kind of too, nah, actually it's not bad. You just have to get a good shape out. It's pretty self-explanatory. But I'm going to go ahead and do this. Oop, broke the tree there. I'm going to go ahead and do this, and I'll see you guys once it's done. So, yeah. Alright, for those of you who are copying the design, go ahead and stop the video and you can see the shape that I've done for the leaves. But the next part is just making it taller. So this is a, again, random thing. You just basically want to place blocks all along it. In the first, or the second layer actually, I always just kind of make an outline of it. And as you can see, I leave a block, a block, a block. I just never let them, you know, be more than 2. This changes later on in the build. This just makes it easier. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of build up with the leaves. And I'll see you guys once I've done that. And I'm just going to basically do this whole thing as it gets taller and taller until the tree is essentially complete. So here we go. Alright, once you've done that, and you can kind of see what I've done, it looks really funny. It actually looks like a acacia tree right now. But once you've done that, you're going to kind of give it the rest of the roundness below it. You just kind of basically do the same thing. Just don't make it too much like an afro. You just want to make it look like there's trees or tree leaves basically hanging down. And I'll show you how to do that once we've kind of completed it. But you just essentially want to go around just like you did and round it out just a little bit more. Otherwise, it's going to look really weird. It'll look like you're wearing a hat, or the tree is wearing a hat. But you just want to fill out, kind of follow the shape of the top, and eventually it'll look good. And you'll just do that for about 2 layers. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Alright, it still looks a little weird, but once you start giving it this droop down effect, it kind of fixes everything. So to do that, you just kind of find random places to make leaves kind of, well, droop down. It kind of gives it this weeping willow look, but at the same time, it doesn't. It's kind of hard to explain it. It makes it look more realistic in my opinion. It makes it look like, you know, the leaves are actually kind of being worked towards gravity. Like it's actually being applied to the tree. So, and plus, since the tree's kind of leaning, you kind of want to give it that effect where it is actually kind of, you know, struggling to hold everything in one place. It's dynamic, really. Especially with shaders, it makes it look really good because all the leaves are shaking and, oh, I can't get over that. It just looks really nice. Speaking of that, I'm using the Chuck-a-Pick shaders. I might throw in a link right now to where you can see how to install the shader pack that I'm using. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and check that out. But for now, let's go ahead and continue with the build. We're almost done with this first part, the most important part, which is the tree. You just want to find random places to droop down. This part doesn't have to be like you know, organized at all. It's the whole point is to give it a really random look. Like even from the edge, you can droop down, and just do it all over. Just kind of make each droop have support because otherwise it's gonna look really weird. But like over here, I kind of want to add one. There we go. And you can kind of see it's starting to work out. In fact, we might even be done. I might add a little bit more. We still have that to do. But you guys basically know how to do that by now. It's the same process. We'll add a little bit of one in here. There we go. And do that. Next, we're going to add our spruce wood leaves. Not spruce wood. Our spruce leaves and just randomly place them. It kind of gives it just a loose effect. It makes it look good. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it other than it makes it look good. It just kind of gives it a unique feel. Makes it look like a different tree from what is currently in Minecraft. Which, I guess the size of it does anyways, but I don't know. You can do this. You don't have to. This whole build will work without it. In fact, you don't even have to use the jungle wood if you don't want. Any type of block will work as long as it looks like it belongs on a tree. You can even add red wool in here if you want to give it like an apple tree look, but I don't know if it'd be this big. But once you've finished randomly placing them, they don't have to be too crazy. Just try and make it visual everywhere you look. Not like where when you look at the whole tree it's just spruce and then a little bit of oak. You just want to make it look like you can see that it's differentiated on all sides. You don't have to destroy some of the blocks. You can just place random spruce wherever you want. You don't have to destroy like everything and then place it. You can add, you know, the spruce like that, if that makes any sense. But it should be good. Maybe we'll add a little bit more on this side, and one right here, and that should be good. Kind of want to add a little bit more like droopiness onto the actual tree. Actually, no, we need more spruce down here now that I look at it. This is the part that's actually going to be visible from your house, so definitely check that out. But next we need to deal with this. It's the same process, just a little bit different. So let's go ahead and kind of just make it look a little bit, it's a miniature version of the main tree, really, is all it is. So you can pretty much build the same thing any oak tree in Minecraft has, just give it that droopiness and it'll work. As you can see, I'm doing that. I mean, it really doesn't take much to get a tree that looks decent. I mean, you just gotta work with it. That's the only tip I can really give with any of my build is you just have to play around until you find the style you want. I want a little bit more to it. Well, actually, yeah. I don't want it to look too much like it's just pointing out and like, hey, I'm pointing at you, and more rain. Wonderful. Let's do that. There we go. I'll give it a little bit more of a roundness look. That way it looks more like, I don't know, gives it a bigger look. And then it doesn't just look like a acacia trees, which are the trees in the savanna biome, if you didn't know. Alright, and that droopiness, can't forget that. There we go. And from here, you are essentially done with your tree. Congratulations. Next, we're going to actually work on the treehouse. That'll be in the next episode, which will be released probably on the same day. Probably already released by now if you're watching this. So go check that out. But for now, we're going to kind of finish up with the build. But if you get it, go ahead and move on to part 2, which I will throw up on screen, hopefully. And we'll continue from there. But let's see how that looks. It looks fine. We might change this up so it goes more under it. That way it looks a little bit more like it's on top of it rather than just coming out of it. Which I guess it's technically doing. We'll do that. Then we'll make it fall over it. There we go. And don't forget the jungle wood. Maybe one there. Cool. Alright. So, see you guys in the next one, part 2.